Welcome to Downton.
Downton Abbey returns on Masterpiece on PBS on January 4th, and I'm here with Laura Carmichael, one of the stars of the show.
Oh, thanks very much for having me.
And I'm very concerned about you because I've been seeing the previews and there's fire and you're being rescued, and I don't want to give things away, but this is just what I've seen in previews. I mean, should fans be concerned for your life this time around?
Well, this happened at home. Like, friends of mine watched the trailer on the TV when it came out, and they were like, "Oh my God, do you die?" And I was like, "What do you think I've been doing for 6 months? I've been filming this series." So, yeah, I mean, don't be too concerned, but it's a dramatic opener.
I should think, though, as an actress, when you see parts like that in the script, you get concerned because people do die on Downton Abbey.
Yeah, it's true. And they sent an email out about the fire stuff, and I was like, "Oh gosh, I bet that's something to do with Edith." And yeah, so I was involved in that. So it's always nerve-wracking, but you know, you're kind of in Julian's hands, our brilliant writer. So you just have to trust that he's going to sort it all out.
Now, to be very careful in this conversation because I don't want to have spoilers that ruin things for people, but I do want to explore some of the things in the new season. How concerned are you about spoilers, that people give things away? Because it airs in Britain ahead of the US, and so things can leak across the Atlantic and ruin things for people who are longtime fans this season. Are spoilers a concern of yours, or do you not worry about them?
I do worry about them. I think we all do. You want, you know, what you've been working on to be enjoyed in the way that you intended, you know, in the right order, and to have the surprise be a surprise. And then at the same time, it is our job to discuss the show before it airs, and I have given some very poor interviews, not giving anything away. A friend of mine really teased me about one I did that he saw, and he went, "You didn't say anything. You just kept saying, 'I can't tell you.'" So it's a really fine line that you have to tread. But yeah, I try and keep as much back as possible.
Well, we'll see what we can get here.
Yeah.
Okay. Another thing that I'm really concerned about is the baby. You know, Edith has gone through so much. Your character on the show, she's had this love child.
Yeah.
What can you tell us about what the baby and her relationship will be like in this new season?
Well, she's really determined to have a relationship with her child, and you sort of see that at the end of season 4. She's made the decision to go back to Switzerland to get her child and bring her back to the estate, so in the nearby land, which the Drew family, there's some farmers that live there, so she's befriended this farmer and asked him to take in this orphan. So yeah, Edith is sort of negotiating the visits with the Drew family, trying to be as subtle as possible whilst still being very much a part of this baby's life and not telling her family anything. So, I mean, it's a very dangerous situation for her to be in, but she's courageous, Edith, I think, you know, and she's not going to give up. And I think, yeah, I enjoyed playing that, but it's incredibly tough for her.
We should talk about the father, too. I think that the period term is the baby daddy. Is that is that the period term? Am I just making that up?
The baby daddy,
and he's disappeared. Will we learn more about what happened, and will she establish some sort of relationship? Or what can you tell me in general without giving things away and causing Downton Abbey fans to send me hate tweets?
I know. Well, it's still this incredibly painful thing that he is missing. And the family don't really understand why she hasn't gotten over it yet. You know, they don't know how much this man meant to her, and the trauma she's gone through having his child and missing him that much, you know. So yeah, it's still very much her dream that he's going to come back and sort everything out.
It seems that your character is on one of the most dramatic journeys on the show in terms of really being a woman who may turn out to be the best suited for the 20th century.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you think of that?
It's great, really, because I think she would really have been the most conventional of all of the 3 girls. I think had the right match been made, she would have lived in the country estate and had the dinner parties and all of that. But because she wasn't given that path, she wasn't as fortunate as her sisters, or you know, it didn't work out that way. She was sort of forced to make a different path for herself.
Now, of course, the show is a very British show, and yet it deals with issues, you know, class and race and sexuality that cross boundaries. When you come over here, because you're only in New York, you told me like once a year, do you think that American viewers have a different view of the show than British viewers, and how do they view things differently, do you think?
I think there is something that which the UK still feels like, you know, we're still dealing with class issues, and and I.
So are we.
Well, yes, totally. I mean, it's weird though. I mean, I was at a Q&A yesterday, and there were some things that I realised just there's an uncomfortable feeling that Brits have about their past, and this feeling that these people still exist, who have had everything handed to them, etc. And I think that's still something that we feel, and it's very much niggles within us. And I know, it still comes up for us as a cast, as a company, so of how we're dealing and negotiating with these stories. So maybe that's something that Britain feels more uncomfortable with, I don't know.
Now, you recently had a visit to the set from a very American presence, George Clooney.
Yeah.
For weeks it's been rumored he's going to be part of the Downton Abbey new season, but he was actually shooting a charity video that's set in the sort of Downton Abbey universe, correct?
That's right, yeah.
What was it like? Because you were on set with George Clooney in period dress. What was that like?
I mean, it was the busiest day on set you could imagine. Anyone who was connected with the show in any way turned up that day. So it was very exciting. We had no idea if he would show. He's incredibly busy, obviously, and it was so generous of him to do it.
So the 5th season, how much longer can Downton Abbey go on? How much longer can its rule continue? It's obviously a hit show, but do you see it wrapping up soon? I mean, what feedback have you gotten from producers, from other actors on the set about when the show might end?
I mean, it will be down to Julian, and when he feels, that this is where he wants the story to end, in a way. I think everyone's always nervous of outstaying your welcome too much, but I think as long as he has good stories to tell, and I know that we love working on it, so it's as long as Lord Fellows feels he wants to write it, I think.